Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter. Welcome to my weekly episode. It is episode number 348 for March the 3rd, 2026. So we're moving into March pretty quickly. Yeah. And did you notice the blood moon? I don't know if in your area, if you could see it. It's supposed to be an eclipse of the moon. Now, you could see it between 6 and 7, and right now it is about 6:30 in the morning as I record this, but I can't see it. Now, I kind of got up at 5 o'clock and looked out the window, and I did see it starting to go at that point in time, but now it has moved and shifted, so where I am situated, I can't see the moon at all. So, yeah, I didn't think we were supposed to have one of those until sometime in 2030 something, but anyways, yeah, that was last night. Not sure what that is supposed to tell us. I guess nothing. Okay, well, let's take a look at what I've been working on. I haven't gotten that far on this yet. This is the Healing Waters panel that I'm working on, and I'm using my pattern that I've created for Quilt of Valor. This is not a Quilt of Valor, though. I've already made that. Now I'm testing the pattern, going through it just like I had picked it up at a store somewhere, and not second guessing, just following exactly what the instructions say to see how this is all working out. And it's working out so far, at least for the first two sets of blocks. Now I have two more sets of blocks to make, and I will start working on those probably later today. I've already actually started them. I've got my pieces laid out for making the half square triangles. There's a lot of half square triangles in this pattern. I do love a half square triangle, but then again, maybe I don't like this many. But anyways, I'm hoping this will look okay when it all comes together. This is not the way the blocks will be laid out, by the way. I'm just throwing them up on my design wall as I make them to keep myself organized and to know how many I have made and how many I have left to make. I am recording my process as I go along with this, and eventually, when the quilt is finished, there will be a video about the whole thing, and I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to offer it as a form of a sew along, meaning that I will divide the video up into weekly segments, into parts, and if you so desire to do this, you'll be able to download my pattern for free and follow along with any panel or any fabrics that you have that will go together. This is what I have in the back of my mind. Actually, it's in the forefront of my mind as I write this pattern, that I want this pattern to be sort of universal. It'll work with any panel, any color scheme, any fabrics you have. To a certain extent, it will be scrap friendly as well. And maybe I'll do a third version of that, showing it in scrappy version. I don't know. I might be doing an overkill on one pattern, however. And speaking of patterns, I do have other patterns available. They're free. They're ones that I have written before. I haven't written that many, but I have 3, I think, before this one. And they're all located on for you to download free. They're in PDF format. And if you look down in the show notes, you will find the link to those. And you're more than welcome to them. They're free. And if you do one of my patterns, yeah, I said do. If you do one of my patterns, then send me a picture of it when it's done. I'd love to see it, and I'll show it on here as well. So, yeah. Okay, now I have been working on one other thing as well. Let me get it up here on the screen for you. And I am going to make a bit of a process video about how you do these. It's an In the Hoop project. The design comes from Creative Kiwi. They're in I believe they're in New Zealand. And, oh yeah, they've got to be with a name like Creative Kiwi. Slang term for New Zealanders, Kiwi, I believe. Anyways, I digress. This is called the African Safari Table Runner. And there's several different panels in this, and I think they're kind of cool. The way it silhouettes everything in the water, kind of a deal. The moon in behind, or the sun. It can be whatever you want. I've chosen to call it more or less sort of the moon. I don't know. But so there's more panels to do. And when I get the whole table runner done, I'm thinking I would give it to my next door neighbors as a gift because they just came back from an African lion safari. In fact, I think they did about 3 or 4 safaris when they were in Africa. So I thought this might be a nice way to commemorate their trip. Also, when I put borders on this, I do have some actual African fabric that I may use on this too, and maybe for the backing as well. But that's what I'm working on right now. But I know that there are those of you out there that have never done this kind of thing when it comes to, like, if you have a embroidery machine. So I will do a sort of a breakdown video showing you how to do one of these panels. And once all the panels are done, I'll show you how I sew them all together. That part is done on your domestic machine, and how I finished the whole product. So that's in the works. It'll be a few weeks before I'll be able to put that up live for you. Okay, so that's what I've been working on. I've abandoned, as you know, if you saw my Monday morning coffee with Stephen. I'm getting used to the new name for that. I've kind of abandoned the idea of doing a dollhouse for various reasons, and I spoke about that yesterday on that video. So, you know, if you're interested or haven't seen that yet, you can go back to it. And just as a side note, my Monday morning coffees with Stephen are tending to be a little bit longer because I am putting in some videos about process and things like that, so that makes them longer. I hope this is not a problem for you. I know, and I'll be honest about it, when I go to one of the channels I subscribe to or something, if I see a longer video on there, I kind of don't necessarily watch it all the time. It depends on what I'm doing, how busy I am, that kind of thing. I'll often just copy it over into my watch later list of videos, and when I've got a moment, I will put it on, or when I'm working on something, and I know a lot of you do this with my videos, which is fine. When I'm working on something down in here, I put it on in the background and listen to it as I'm working. And that's okay, because it's like you've got some people with you while you're doing something. And I've heard many of you say that's what you do with my videos. So, okay. So maybe the longer ones are okay. You know, it's a fine line between making them too short and making them too long. Who knows? Okay, moving right along to what's coming up. What's up? Well, sewing with Stephen, that's me. Tomorrow, which is Wednesday at the time of recording this. So every Wednesday we have that. Everybody's welcome. Link is in the show notes. You know the routine. I repeat it all the time. Coming up, Pop-Up Sew Day, March the 21st. I think that's definitely when I'm going to have another Pop-Up Sew Day, unless something radically alters in my life. A few days before, all the videos on the week before will have the link to the Pop-Up Sew Day for that as well. And again, it's a come and go as you please. Everybody is welcome. We have a great time. Okay, so Walter has been continuing his playing around with Lucey. He and Lucey are having an affair. Yep, he's down there late at night while I'm asleep, having their little midnight rendezvous. And I thought I'd show you how he's doing so far. And I think he's doing really well. And if you go from left to right, from the top row to the bottom row, you can see there is definitely a marked improvement. I think he got a little crazy here on this one in the end, but these are looking pretty good. He's, you know, some of them are, I think, are quilt worthy that he's done already, but he's continuing to practice on it. He went out the other day and came home with 2 flat sheets. He's going to use those next as practice. And then when he's feeling confident, we're going to push him to the cheater cloth that looks like actual blocks, but they're not. They're just printed on the fabric. And, you know, so he can start playing with design in that. I hope he doesn't get bored with this, and I hope he doesn't give up on it, because I think he's going to be really great at it. And I hope he's enjoying it. He says he is, but I hear it in the back of his voice where, you know, he's kind of saying, Well, why am I doing this? Um, well, I'm giving him a reason to do it so he can do my quilts. Yeah. Yes, I do have an ulterior motive, as you well know, because I've said it before. But I'm serious about it. I would be very, very pleased to have Walter do the quilting on my quilts, like custom quilting, and I just do the patchwork. I mean, I would still use Lucey myself every now and then, like with the computer, but it would be nice that we could work on something as a team because I have other thoughts for way down the road about that idea, but I'm keeping those to myself right now. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. Um, but anyways, yeah, I think he's coming along. And actually, I didn't look this morning yet to see if he'd worked on it last night more, but each morning when I come downstairs and I take a look at what's on Lucey, I can see the development. And it's kind of exciting to watch this happening. In fact, I'm getting a little jealous. I'm actually seriously considering going back to this and doing the same thing as he is, like to try and practice. But I don't know. Maybe we could put the bed sheets on, put a line down the middle, and I work on one side, he works on the other side, and we can compare notes. Then it becomes a competition, and I will lose. So, yeah. But anyways, it's coming along. I think he's getting a little tired of this particular swirly pattern that he's doing. He wants to try something else. But I said to him, this is what they say is how you build up muscle memory. So, maybe get this to the point where you think you have it relatively perfected and move on to another one. I mean, this is advice coming from someone who doesn't have the patience to do this. So, take it with a grain of salt, I suppose. But anyways, and just still on this free motion note, so we have figured out the mystery of the missing free motion quilting books that we purchased from Whirls N Swirls some time ago. The reason we couldn't find the books is because we do not have the books at all. Never did have the books. What we had were the electronic books. We had the PDF versions of those books. That's what we bought. And in fact, Walter, I think, bought them and he downloaded them to his computer and he found them on his computer. I now have a set of them on my computer as well. That's why we couldn't find them. We thought we had bought them in physical format, not as PDFs. But anyways, mystery solved. And which is good because that was weighing on me because I don't lose things and I don't usually misplace things. Everything has its spot, although there are times. But that I would have been sure of, and they could have only been in 2 spots. But it never really dawned on me, and it didn't dawn on Walter either, that we had bought them electronically. So anyways, mystery solved, and that's a good thing. Okay, so this coming Saturday morning, March the 14th, I am a guest on Sean, that's the guy who sews, Saturday Live. It's always a good time with Sean, and I've been on Sean's program before, not very frequently, but because, he's busy, I'm busy, and he has other people he lines up too, because he has a good variety of guests, and I feel very honored to be included amongst that list. So that's this coming Saturday morning at 8 o'clock Eastern. So, you might want to tune in. If you've never been to one of Sean's Saturday morning lives, you should, because it's just Sean and the guest that he has sewing and chatting, but there's always something interesting that comes out of it, and you learn things too all the time. I tune in every Saturday morning to have it on while I'm working as well. I don't participate as much as others in the chat part of it because I'm usually busy doing something else, but I'm listening. And it's always entertaining. So yeah, that's this Saturday, March the 14th, 2026, in case this is 12 years down into the future. And join us. And having said that, I have been in contact with Becca of Sew Becca and Ian of the Off Quilter Crafter. And they want to interview me put me on their podcast. So we're in the process of working out when that's going to be and all that good stuff. And I'm very flattered to have been asked to be part of that. And if you were at the fall retreat, you know that both Becca and Ian were my special guests. They were part of my presenter lineup, and well, they're just brilliant and they're a lot of fun to be around. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And once I know when that's happening, I'll let you know too. And that will happen over on their channel. So yeah, it'll be a while yet. So, you know, cool your jets. Okay, subscribers' comments of the week 2 here that I want to look at because they're asking interesting things. This one comes from Jeannie, and Jeannie says, "Hi, Stephen and Walter. Stephen, what is the purpose of putting water-soluble stabilizer on top of a project before embroidering it? I have seen this done on several projects, but I'm wondering why. Thank you." Now, this was on the video that I did the scrap fabric, make your own fabric in the hoop thing. And so I did use a water-soluble there, but at first I thought, I thought, well, no, I didn't. I did put it on top of that project. Now, the reason I did that was to hold all the loose pieces down because those weren't actually sewn. As you know in that video, if you saw it, you just lay your scrap pieces down on top of some stabilizer. And so they're all loose. They're all overlapping. And then I put the water-soluble stabilizer on top of it and did a very fine and very close, tight stippling pattern all over the top of it. And that holds down all the pieces. And then you just rinse it underwater to get rid of the water-soluble stabilizer on the top, and everything is adhered, stuck down. But I'm not sure if that's what she was referring to, or if she was referring to the stabilizers that some people put sometimes on top of things that have a nape to them, like a bath towel. If you've got something that's kind of fluffy, like a bath towel, then there is a special water-soluble stabilizer that you can get. It's clear. It looks like a little piece of thin plastic, but you can either wash it away or iron it away. I recommend the one that's water soluble as opposed to the one that's you iron away. I've not had great luck with the iron away ones because essentially you're melting it and it gets into the fibers and sometimes, makes them a little thicker and sticky. But water soluble comes right out. Well, the reason you put that on top is so that your stitches don't sink way down in the nape of the toweling fabric, and then they're lost. You don't really see anything. It keeps them just that much above that nape so that they're not lost in it. And then, of course, with the water-soluble stabilizer, you just rinse it out afterwards or wash the towel easier. And it's all gone. So that's why people use that kind of water-soluble stabilizer. It's for anything that has a nape to it, a pile, if you wish. Hope that answers the question. And then Inez writes, "I have tried this with scraps," meaning in the hoop. "However, can't get my head around all the seams on the back." Yes. And in that video, I mentioned the fact that although the company that I got the pattern from, I think it was Sweet Pea, are talking about it as being a quilt or a wall hanging or something like that. I said I would not make a quilt with it. They're too stiff. They're just way too stiff because the stippling that's done to hold all the pieces, as I said, is very, very tight, very, very dense. And the more quilting that's in something, the stiffer things get. And it doesn't really soften up that much. Excuse me, runny nose today. Even after you've washed it. And I did wash after I finished the table runner, and it softened it a little bit, but not all that much. Now, for a table runner, that works okay. For a wall hanging, that works okay. For a quilt, no, because you want a quilt to be cozy. Unless it's a quilt that you want to put on the wall and you have no intention of it being, used by anybody to keep them nice and cozy and warm. then sure. But yeah. And another reason why they are so thick is that, yes, there are a ton of seams. Now, more so if you were to do it on your domestic sewing machine, because on your domestic sewing machine, you're doing your 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you may be doing everything random and wiggly piggly all over the place. There's a fun term, wiggly piggly. Don't know where that came from. But it, then yeah, you've got a ton of seams, and that's going to make, it more difficult when you want to quilt it. If you want to quilt it, well, you wouldn't be, because you're kind of quilting as you go if you use this method. Um, in the hoop, though, on the embroidery machine, because you're not really making seams, the pieces are just being held down by all of this interweaving of stitches over the top of it. So you don't really have as many seams, but it's still going to be very stiff, as I said. Okay, moving on then. Oh, and keep those comments coming, please. If you have questions, if you have suggestions for things you would like me to explore further, please put them in the comments below, or send them to me as an email message. I'd be happy to look into it. Okay, so last week on So Chatty, if you haven't seen it, there was a second video put up with Walter playing with Lucey. And this time he was starting out on his free motion quilting journey with Lucey. So that's there for you as well to check out. So that takes me to subscribers' creation of the week. And this beautiful creation comes from Down Under, comes from Maureen. Maureen Tager. I think it's Tager. I'm not sure it's Tager or Tager, but I think it's Tager. Anyways, it's beautiful. Here it is. This week's quilt comes from Maureen Tager, and Maureen writes the following. Happy New Year, Steve. I thought I would send you a picture of this quilt. I made it in February last year as I was nearing a big birthday. I was on a 4-day retreat with friends and finished the top during the retreat. It is improv piecing, no pattern, no measurements, just cut and sew. It was also a dig at a member of our quilting group who turned 80 and was acting as if everything would stop. I'm thinking I should make a number 1 to hide the 0 as I'm nearing the next birthday. So onward to 2026, where I'm going to explore other techniques, and if they work, they do. If the work they do, and if they don't. Okay. Happy New Year to you both, and please keep being a little bit controversial. It keeps us all thinking. Maureen. So Maureen's quilt, just so unique, so modern. 80 is only a number. So yeah, and she did enter it. It's right there into the Quilt NSW. I think that stands for North South Wales, I think, one of the states in Australia. But anyways, this is kind of fun, and the colors are great, and it's all improv. As she said, she just sort of, whatever came up, came up. I do like, though, the addition of these little swatches over here of the color, because they reflect what's going on in the binding as well, and of course the whole color scheme of the quilt itself. So very unique, very unusual, very modern. Thank you, Maureen, for sending this to us. Okay, so this week's short tip that I found on YouTube is called 5 must-have tools for sewing heavy fabric. And needles and things are a bit of a mystery to many people, like, because they come in different sizes, and then you get into different sizes of thread, and it gets very confusing. And not all needles are appropriate for all jobs. There is something called universal needles. Don't believe it. They have their limitations as well. But, you've got to have the right tool for the right job. So if you're sewing through leather, you are not going to use a quilting needle. I can guarantee you're going to have problems with that. But anyways, here's the little tip from YouTube that I'm talking about. So enjoy. This week's short tip comes from somebody I'm sure most of you are very much in the know about, and that's Rob Appel. And he has this short little sewing tip on YouTube called 5 must-have tools for sewing heavy fabric. And, sometimes we're not always quilting. Sometimes we're repairing clothing. Sometimes we're making things from like denim, as he's showing here, or some other heavier fabrics, upholstery fabrics, or things like that. So it's a little bit different working with those types of fabrics than it is from working with quilting cotton. So in this little short video that runs about 1 minute long or so, he shows you exactly what you need in order to be successful in sewing heavy fabrics. So I would suggest you should check it out. Link is in the show notes. And so the link for that is in the show notes below if you want to watch the whole little short video. I love short videos on YouTube, especially the ones that show you a sewing tip, because they take 30 seconds, 1 minute, something like that, and you learn something really quick. Kind of like knowledge on the go. Okay, so that takes me to other interesting things, and to my section that I call now Have You Seen This? This comes from one of my subscribers, Bonnie, and it is an app to help you plan out a quilt. Now, I use EQ8, but it has a very steep learning curve, and I am by no means an expert on how to use EQ8. But this is called QuiltNotes, and it's actually quite powerful and very well put together. But here's what I'm talking about. Have you seen this? Bonnie, one of my subscribers, sent this link to me, and this is actually really fascinating. Now, if you're somebody who has thought about buying a program for helping you design a pattern like EQ8, well, they can be very, very expensive, and they are very, very hard to use. They have a steep learning curve. Well, here's something that takes all the mystery out of it. Quilt math hard? Not if you use QuiltNotes. QuiltNotes has been developed by, I forget the name of the lady. I think it is, let's see if we can find her name here. Yes, here it is. Carol Thalen. And this is something I explored a long time ago, and it was just in the beginning stages of development. So it was interesting, but I didn't pursue it further. Well, now she has this really professionally set up and ready to go. It is a free program. However, you can register to get rid of all the advertising, and there's a lot of advertising on this site, which is very annoying. But to register, and it costs, I think, about $85 to do that, which if you're going to use it on a regular basis, I think that's a very reasonable price considering what something like EQ8 costs. But just to give you a quick look at this, and you can explore it on your own because the link is in the show notes, but you have calculators, blocks, blockheads, AccuQuilt, notions, charts, and learning. And if we look at the calculators, and down here she has a video on YouTube that shows you very clearly how to use this, and it is very intuitive. So if we go to calculators, for example, and this is what I mean about the ads. Okay, she has several different calculators. Straight set quilt, and she explains what she means by that. On point quilt, a panel quilt calculator. I was really interested in that because, I've been working with panels lately. Yardage only calculator, grids and fabric calculator, backing and binding calculators. So let's just go into the first one, the straight set calculator. And in here, you can give your project a name. And when you submit it, it'll calculate the size. Now, this is another one of those annoying little ads that are popping up here right where we don't want it. So we'll get rid of that. So you can enter in the finished sizes of your blocks, whatever they're going to be. How many blocks across, how many blocks down, if you're going to put in a sashing, the width of it, and border widths. And once you have all that information in there, you can hit calculate. I'm just going to put in test. I'm going to leave the defaults that are here. Submit, and this is what you're going to get. Another ad. Now that you have results, and it tells you here what to do, a checklist for next. Here's your quilt. It tells you how big your quilt's going to be based on the information you put in. It tells you how much binding you're going to need, how much backing fabric, whether you're using standard width or 108 inch. Down here, it calculates all this information you need for sashing. It calculates all the information you need for borders. And you can print all this out as a PDF file. So yeah, it takes the guesswork out of designing a quilt. Now, you can get more elaborate, as you saw with, where a panel that goes, but in your blocks, it has a whole library of common blocks for you to pick from. They also have AccuQuilt Bob blocks. That's block on board. So if you're into AccuQuilt like I am, this is really great here. This is a really nice feature. And there are other things about the AccuQuilt system too that you can get into on here that, well, there's so much on here. I strongly suggest that you watch the video that she has here. She also has a YouTube channel, and she has more videos about using her program as well. It's great. It's free. If you don't want to be annoyed by the ads as you saw coming up, then you can pay for the registration of it, and you don't have to worry about that before. And I'm thinking about doing that, even though for me it's going to be a little over $100 Canadian. But considering I spent well over $1,000 on EQ8 and I still struggle with using it, this might be a nice alternative and a good investment. So that's called QuiltNotes, and the link is in the show notes. Check it out. So if you're interested in that application, well, it's not an app. It's on your computer. It's a website. It looks very, very good. And I haven't really used it completely, but I played around with it a little bit, and I'm impressed. And as I said in the video, it is free. You're going to get advertising on it. If that really bugs you, you can register the product and pay for it. It's not particularly inexpensive, but I can see why it might be a little on the high side, because, the person who put this together, she did an awful lot of work for this. And she's constantly improving it as well. So, I'm thinking if I use it on a regular basis, I would probably invest in it as well. But the link for that is in the show notes. And it's a very easy link anyways, because it's just called QuiltNotes.com. Couldn't get simpler. Okay, so that's it for me today. Short one. I didn't have any process videos to show you. I'm sorry. I hope to have something for you next week with that. Again, if you have anything that you would like me to explore further and do a video on, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to follow up on that. Okay, and as always, comments are always welcome, and questions. So I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you maybe on Friday for So Chatty. Not sure what we're doing on So Chatty. Probably talk a little bit to Walter about how he feels about his free motion quilting journey so far. And I'm sure we'll find some other things to talk about, show you, whatever. But yeah, so I hope you have a great week. We'll see you later. Bye for now. Hi. I'm just going to interrupt my program for just 1 second to remind you to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for future notifications. That's all I ask of you. Show me a little love. Thanks.